Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you in part by Water Cleanup of Florida. We've dealt with an issue at our home the other day when it came to a fridge, and I had to wait till the next day to call someone to come out, and then it was a whole thing. What I love about Water Cleanup of Florida is you can reach them 24 hours a day, and they're a one-stop shop, meaning if you have any issues with water damage, be it flood or any other kind of water damage, mold, fire, you can call them, whether it's morning, noon, night, overnight, 24 hours a day. You can call them. They'll come out. They'll assess the situation, and they'll fix it. They are home to licensed contractors. That allows them to not only tell you what's wrong, but you don't have to go and fix it yourself. You don't have to go and find someone else to fix it. A to Z is what they like to call it. One-stop shopping. They will make sure whatever the issue is, they'll take care of it at Water Cleanup of Florida. All you have to do is call them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 954-579-0356, or visit their website at wcufl.com. Again, 954-579-0356. You can also follow them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida. We clean up your schmutz. It was not schmutzy in game one for the Miami Heat as they dominated Atlanta Hawks, literally forcing Trae Young to probably the worst shooting game of the season, one of the worst of his career, 1 of 12 from the field, 8 points total, horrendous from the three-point line. So we talked with Bally Sports Florida, Miami Heat analyst, one and only Coach Ron Rothstein, was coach of the Miami Heat in the late 80s, was an assistant coach of the Miami Heat during many glory days, and also the guy that devised the Jordan rules, the guy that devised the defensive game plan that worked so well for the Detroit Pistons in the late 80s to the tune of back-to-back titles. Coach Rothstein joins us today to talk about the Miami Heat's Game 1 victory and what we can see from the Heat in Game 2, but also from the Atlanta Hawks to try and open up Trae Young's game right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network with Coach Ron Rothstein.
Speaking with Ron Rothstein, who is now with the Heat broadcast team, a longtime coach in the NBA, of course. And good, we have Ron Rothstein with us here on the program. And it's always a pleasure to get an opportunity to just listen to the brilliance of his basketball analysis, whether he's on TV or with us here on the show. Ron Rothstein, how are you? Great to have you on the program here on Ion Channel. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Defo. How are you?
I couldn't be better. I'm feeling really good. Usually Lubie is a kiss of death, and he was very confident about the Heat's, first game against the Atlanta Hawks. Hawks having to play those 2 play-in games with great intensity, and they managed to get through that. And we saw, Trae Young is hitting shots from the Coke machine, and he's just cutting through the paint like it was the Red Sea parting for him, making all kinds of great plays and passes. And they come in and lay an egg against the Miami Heat, who looked like a completely different team than either of the two they faced prior to that. What were your thoughts about that opener? Could it have gone any better for Miami than it did against Atlanta in Game 1?
No, not really. I mean, it's pretty much we got everything we wanted. We did everything we did. We held them. They never got going. And it's not surprising. They came off a very emotional win on Friday to get into the 8th spot. And that's a tough turnaround. If you're playing in a series and you play every other day, that's one thing. But if you end the series or that playing game, and now you got to start a new series, okay, and the turnaround time is 1 day, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And it's almost like a throwaway game for the team for Atlanta. It's almost a throwaway game for them because, look, they come in, they're on the road, the home team's supposed to win. So the home team wins the first 2. Well, the home team, they did what they're supposed to, okay? Now you go back to Atlanta. If Atlanta wins the next 2, now it's a 3-game series. So getting beat in Game 1 is not the worst thing, and it happens quite often. It doesn't necessarily mean you're out of the series. I've experienced many playoff series losing the first game and going on to win the series, sometimes in a 4-game sweep. So it's a playoff. You just never know. They said that they felt they had heavy legs. We were fresh. But I think we're playing really, really well. And I'm not sure we're going to blow them out like that every game. I would doubt it. They have too many offensive weapons. But no question about it, Sunday we were terrific.
Ron Rothstein with us here on the Defo Show. Ron, of course, with Bally Sports Sun, doing all of the analysis, the brilliant stuff that he does with Jason Jackson on the telecast of the games. All right, I mean, my theory, I believe Clint Capella is underrated as not only an excellent player. I mean, obviously he has a good reputation, solid, but in these spots in particular in the postseason, he always seems to be a guy that stands out. How impactful is his absence, in your opinion? And I mean, how badly does that compromise Atlanta's chances, not only tonight, but the rest of the way if he's unavailable?
That hurts. There's no question about it. He's a big, terrific rebounder, scores around the basket, great pick-and-roll player, sets good screens, rolls, catches, bobs for dunks, puts pressure in the paint, puts pressure on your defense, makes other people commit a step or a half a step more than they want to, and to then be able to get back out to the perimeter. And a lot of times in this game, there's a lot of nuance to professional basketball. Step here, half a count there, makes a big difference. And not having him hurts them. There's no question about it. It's like if we didn't have Bam. Would it hurt us? Absolutely. So it's definitely to our advantage that he's not playing. No question.
We're talking about Bally Sports Florida, Miami Heat analyst, one and only Coach Ron Rothstein. Coach, the Heat put on that display, and that's with Tyler Herro sort of being a little bit shaky offensively. The other side of that was Trae Young just was smothered. I mean, 1 of 12 field goals, had 8 points total, was horrendous beyond 3-point line. You were a guy that was a part of trying to stifle Michael Jordan. If you're the coach trying to wake up Trae Young, what could the Hawks possibly do to get him, quote unquote, off, as they say? As that was the worst, I think, shooting out of the year for Trae Young.
Yeah, he was 1 for 12. He had a horrible game, and he couldn't find any space. I think one of the things they're going to try and do is, a lot of times they'll play 5 out. And when you play 5 out, you allow the defense to protect. Like if he gets the ball up in circle above the 3-point line, in the middle of the floor is where he can be most effective. But I think one of the things they will probably do is they'll take those wing guys. I think they'll drop them to the corners and take the corner guys and move them in a little bit. Or they might just clear out one side. I think they're going to do less pick and roll because of the way we switch and try and get him in isolation one-on-one. Now, I'm not positive that they're going to do. I think the other thing is they've got to be better defensively and get more stops and get them out in the open court so that he can attack the transition. One of our weaknesses is we do turn the ball over a lot, but we also turn people over. We turn the other team over a lot also. So it's almost a wash. The games when we're not turning teams over, we're turning the ball over, are the games that we struggle, or the game when we're not shooting 3 well. But they were they were poor defensively the other night. Now, they're not a great defensive team. They don't have a great defensive rating, but they do turn people over. So if they can get into us, play a little bit better defense, get out in the open court more, and get him in transition, and he can get rolling and get a rhythm, that could change the whole tenor of the game.
Ron Rothstein, our guest here on Ion Channel, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. I'm laughing because Trae Young in that ball game. I don't know if you ever saw this movie. It's probably the worst sports movie ever made. Certainly the worst basketball movie ever made. One-on-one with Robbie Benson, where he comes out for a college team after being a high school hotshot. Everything he does goes wrong. He's kicking the ball all over the place, and the coach is all over him. And Trae Young couldn't do a thing right. It seemed like in that ball game. All right, this game also, this game one, especially Ron Rothstein, was kind of steeped in heat culture, and it's kind of interesting the build up to the postseason because we were sort of posing this question, and during the course of the year, that the Heat have the best record in the East. Are they the best team in the East? And maybe if you took like the word team in quotes, they might be the best team overall. What is your thought on that? Because it was so tight. I mean, are we splitting hairs when you're talking about Miami and the other, what would appear to be your real contenders in there, which are numerous, including Philadelphia, Boston, and Milwaukee?
It's a tough call, Defo. We were the best team in the regular season. We won the most games, plain and simple. Are we going to be the best team in the playoffs? No one really knows yet. I think it's going to be very, very competitive. I think you're going to see some really, really interesting and exciting playoff series. Right now, you got one in Boston between Brooklyn and Boston, which I think is going to be a real dogfight. Philly looks like they're just overwhelming Toronto. I think Toronto's a little short-handed. Scotty Barnes got hurt. And then you've got Milwaukee, Chicago. Now, that first game was a very competitive game.
Yeah.
Chicago had their chances to win. Milwaukee is still the champion, but they have not performed yet this year up to their championship standard of last year. For whatever reason. The only thing I'll say about that is it's really, really difficult. It's very, very hard. And I think they're feeling the effects of being the champion, being the hunted, and maybe they've lost a little bit of their want, desire. I don't know. I don't pretend to have that answer. It just seems that way so far. But yet, they still are the champions. So we'll have to wait and see.
All right, you've been around this and no doubt had both experiences. And you're looking at Brooklyn after that game. I mean, you talk about a gut-wrenching fashion in which to lose a ball game. You get a great defensive possession there because it seemed like the ball could only go one of two places on the final possession that Brooklyn had. And you had Kyrie, who had a sensational game, dribbling around for like an hour like he was making the Cochise move. And then at the last second, he shovels it off to Kevin Durant. And he has to fire like a brick from about 30 feet away. So a tough, and then they come down and lose it in the final second. Now, people always ask this of sports talk hosts or whatever, and we always are having theories about it and different analysts. I mean, if you lose in that fashion, is it more painful and harder to get over than just like Atlanta did, getting blown out in game number one, and then you sort of shrug that off and say, well, geez, we were under some very difficult circumstances. We'll come back and play better. I mean, do players let those kind of losses stick with them, or can they just shake this off and turn the page, Brooklyn in game number two, as if none of this transpired?
I think Brooklyn will be even more determined in game two because they feel like they let it get away. They had that game one, even if it was by 1 point. And if you go back and replay the last 20 seconds of that game, which started with a Brooklyn offensive possession and then the missed shot by Durant. So actually it started, let me think now. They got the ball back with 10 seconds to go.
Yep.
And so it had to start with like 34 seconds to play. Okay. And, or 32 or whatever it was. And then Boston played 24, 23 seconds of great defense, forced Durant into a terrible shot.
Yeah.
It always I don't know if the word bother is right, but it always bothered me when a guy did what Kyrie did. Dribble, 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 and then he can't get a shot off, and then he shoves it to the other guy with the shot clock down, and that guy's got to jack up a shot that he's really not ready for. Not even the great Kevin Durant, okay? And he misses it. Now, one of the things about double teaming, when you double team the ball and the guy with the ball holds the ball, you enable a double team to get better and better. Really, really good, smart players, once they get that second guy, know somebody's open.
Yep.
But this is sort of interesting, I think. You don't double team an average guy, you double team the great guy. And the great guys have tremendous belief in themselves. And quite often when they see a double team, especially at the end of the game, they don't want to get off the ball. They want to make the play. They want to make the shot because they're so competitive. They have such great belief in themselves. Well, if you keep holding that ball and then you wind up having to get rid of it because you got nothing and the shot clock's running down, you're really not helping your team and you're putting your teammate in their spot. But now when Boston got the ball, and Ime Udoka, the Boston coach, they asked him about it in the press conference. I don't know if you saw it, and they said, did you consider taking a timeout? He said, no, our philosophy, we've been doing this all year. In these situations, I tell my team, I will call the timeout. You just play. You get the ball and you go. If I don't like what I see, I'll call the timeout, which I think is really sound, and I think it's smart coaching. Especially because now coaches can walk on the floor and call a timeout. You know, years ago, you couldn't do that. Somebody on the court has to do it. So what he did was, and what they're trained to do, is get the rebound and go, which they did. There was no hesitation. You go back and watch the replay of that play. There was absolutely no hesitation. And he just played it out. He let it ride. And the interesting part of it was the skip pass to Smart on the weak side. That was the trigger. He threatened shot, and their rotations broke down because two guys flew at him, not one, and they both flew by, and he was smart enough to put it on the floor and make the play to Tatum. Tatum made a great cut. Look, they just beat, it hit the buzzer by 2/10 of a second.
Yeah, so, that was crazy.
They were living on the edge, but it had to go perfect, and it did. But the interesting thing to me was what he said about his coaching style and what they have been trained to do, and they did it.
No, it was great. Thriller Manila type of stuff to finish off that ball game. And, it should create a lot of excitement, as you said, maybe an even more intense effort by the Brooklyn Nets against a very competitive opponent there in the Boston Celtics. All right, one final thing, Ron. It's always great having you on the show, but just curious about this. We've been asking, we had Eric Reed on the show last week, and we asked him if he had come across Pat Riley. And I don't know if you're watching this Winning Time thing, but the portrayal of Riley, and we've kind of equated it. I don't know if you're familiar with Bobcat Goldthwait, he comes off in this show, Winning Time, as if he was some kind of, throwback hippie buffoon out of Haight-Ashbury. Have you talked to Riley about this show at all, and is he familiar with this portrayal? Because I would imagine, if Johnny Depp could sue Amber Heard, Riley could make a pile of cash off this portrayal.
No, Defo, I have not watched it. I don't intend on watching it. I have not talked to Pat about it. I think, as far as I'm concerned, it's a non-issue. Somebody's taking, what do they call it, literary or
artistic license?
License.
We majored in that in college, artistic license. Fabrication, I guess.
I think it's terrible. Yeah, they can turn it and twist it any way they want. Okay, It's their perception or what they want it to be, not necessarily their perception, but what they want it to be, because they think it'll get better ratings or. No, I'm not buying that stuff. No.
Yeah, and they make Jerry
It's
West
unfair.
out to be overt asshole. You know, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Great Jerry
look,
West.
somebody's getting paid for that and making money. They don't care what they do to other people. What do they care? You know,
I mean, you would imagine they would have a favorable vision. Yeah, of Pat Riley. I'm glad he hasn't seen it or commented on it, though. And Ron, it's always a pleasure. Brilliant as always. My God, I feel. I mean, I have just, really appreciated the insight you provided. We'll enjoy tonight's game. And are you guys broadcasting these games, or do they go to like TNT and ESPN?
No, we do the first round.
Oh, great!
As long
great.
as it's not an ABC game, we do the games. And after the first round, everything is national. But we do some in-house stuff we've done in the past. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out this year, but we've done stuff on online streaming on the computer, and I guess a lot of it is really for the archives, so to speak.
Well, it's good for to get the local flavor.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Ron, we love you. Thanks so
Much
much. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for being with us here on the show. Really appreciate it.
Always good to talk to you guys. Please be well. Take care. See you next time.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right, Coach.
All right. Thank you.
Let's go to 8. Always thanks to Coach Ron Rothstein for joining us from Bally Sports, Florida. Longtime Miami Heat coach, Miami Heat assistant, NBA coach, NBA assistant, and now for a while, an analyst with Bally Sports, Florida. Does a tremendous job. We always have a great time. Talk a lot about what happened in Game 1, but also what could happen in Game 2. Tyler Herro and Bam did not play their best games. Jimmy Butler did not play his best game, and the Heat dominated. You would think you'd see a much better effort from them in Game 2. And also, look, Trae Young was totally stifled, but that was because the Heat didn't give him room. You would think that he would keep trying to have that defensive effort on Trae Young, but you'd also think Nate McMillan, that coaching staff, and Young himself would work to get him a little bit more open, and you'd see a better effort from him. Game 2 feels a lot like you'll see a much closer game. The Hawks will play better. I still am thinking, Defo, I'm thinking the Heat prevail. We shall see. Again, thank you to Bally Sports Florida, Miami Heat analyst, Coach Ron Rothstein. This is the Defo Show with Lubie right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Check us out Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Just Google the Defo Show to check us out video and audio live stream. Google the Defo Show. Check us out exclusive content podcast, Believe Network, Believe.com, search after hours, and every day our South Florida content right here. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.